Okay, so I'm gonna cover a couple things with this first this little video here, and I'm gonna cover first. Let's preview what we have so far. Got the ball bounce, it's squashing, it's stretching, looking good. If I play it, I can play it through here, which is good, nice. That's what it looks like on the stage. If I were to hit this test movie up here in the top right, that gives me a look of what it would look like if it were rendered. Now the size is a little weird, so if I shrink this down, it makes more sense. But this is basically what we would see if it were a rendered video. Now, this right here, the arcs, the path that we drew out, this is a guide. It's a reference for us. And this is important to know as an animator. If you have something that you want to create as a reference layer, then you can do that. But we don't necessarily want it to show up in our rendered movie. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to select my path layer. I'm going to right click on it. And if I want it to be hidden, I'm going to mark it as a guide. And so now I'll get this little measuring tool, like a guide, and I'm going to go back to test movie again. And now it's going to preview again, but without that path layer. I don't need that reference layer showing up there. No one else needs to see that. That was just for me to help me animate. So that is done. That's one step out of the way. Next thing I want to do, I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to call this one, double click on it, I'm going to call this one background. I'm going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to drag it all the way to the bottom, the stage color. So if I select the stage here, my stage is this yellow color. I don't necessarily want that yellow color to be on the background. That's not really an environment. It's just the color of that workspace, which might not matter if you were just doing like graphics like letters or logos and things like that. But in this case, this is like an actual scene. And so I'd want to create an actual background scene, something better than just a yellow or whatever, plain sky. I'm going to use my rectangle tool here, and I'm going to draw out a shape for the whole thing. Ooh, I don't like that, so I'm going to undo that. I'm going to change my fill to this weird gradient right here, because we're going to talk a little bit about gradients. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to draw out this whole thing over my background, over my stage. And now I have like this blue and the brown. This doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So if I zoom out and I use my gradient transform tool and I select my gradient, and over here in the corner, I see that rotate. I'm going to rotate it around, and I can shrink this to size. It starts to make more sense, because if I turn this off, it's sky and it's a ground. It's basically a ready-made gradient for a simple plain scene. But I already have a ground, right? I don't want this brown. And so here's what I'm going to do. I can simply take this and just drag it down, and now I just have a sky. I don't care about what's down here because it's not going to show up anyways. Other things you can do, if you wanted to custom make your own gradient, with this selected, now if I go up to color, I see that it brings up my linear gradient, and it shows the layout of this gradient that I have on this rectangle. If I don't like that gradient, I can say, all right, I'm going to get rid of you, and you, and you, and you. And I want to change the color. I want to go from blue to something else. I'm going to click this, and I'm going to choose this pink color. Now it goes from blue to pink. That's my new gradient. It starts to show up here, but I have to readjust this. You can see my gradient a little bit better now. And I like that. If I wanted to add more colors to this, I can do this, this, and this, and add a different gradient all the way down. So you can customize your gradients. You can make them how you want. It's just like any other Adobe program. Hopefully you have some experience with by now. And that's basically it. That's our background. That's a path layer. I'm going to lock those things down, and I'm going to move on to my next thing. This is just a quick, easy way to have a background and set up your path. So that's it for now.